I remember when I got involved with the community development first and the car park here was being developed, deadlines for grants and deadlines for this. And I remember saying at a meeting one night, when this is done, maybe we should sit back and just enjoy what we have at the moment, But, now that I'm chairperson, I don't think there's any sitting back really, because it seems to have to keep going, to keep developing.
Welcome to the 2022 SciCap case study for Kildorrery, County Cork, featuring Kildorrery Community Development Association.
Community development is evolving all the time.
That's David Myers, former chairperson of Kildorrery Community Development Association.
When we started, we were working on behalf of our children. We are now at a stage here, we are working on behalf of our grandchildren.
Kildorrery has an increasingly diverse population, with the resultant pressure on facilities and spaces.
We have probably the bones of 50 new houses built here in the last 10 years, which draws in new people, young people. We have up to 250 children in the school here.
For over 30 years, the KCDA have been working in a strong partnership with Ballyhoura Development.
I always felt that having the likes of Ballyhoura in the background, they were a fantastic resource. You could pick the phone or you could arrange a meeting at more or less any time and just go and talk to them.
This partnership started soon after the village went into economic decline, after the closure of the local creamery in the late 1980s.
I think the underlying fear was that were we going to become a community of older people and all our children were going to immigrate and something had to be done. So community development seemed to be the right way to go about it at the time to help ourselves.
So Kildorrery Community Development Association was formed, and within months the decision was made to purchase key areas of land in the village.
We had all this land, we had these premises, we had a very enthusiastic committee, but we didn't have direction. Ballyhoura came out with their team here and they suggested that we would carry out a study of the community and try and identify the needs of what the community was and to look at our strong points.
It's lunchtime in the village of Kildorrery and the place is bustling.
We're on the main street and we're actually outside what is the community office, right? And we also have the Touch and Time restaurant. You have people coming out from Mass at 10 o'clock and they come in here and they sit for their coffee and they'll have their chat.
This lovingly restored thatched building is owned by the community and the restaurant is a separate commercial entity.
And this is working out very well for us because we're being paid rent for it each month and that helps to pay for the overall running of the community development itself.
In more recent years, a whole raft of supports from SciCap have made it possible to nurture and build on the community's capacity to successfully operate a sustainable and responsive social enterprise. Supports across Goal 1, supporting communities, and Goal 2, supporting individuals.
We'll go in, and this is the reception area. Now here we have the community office, and we have Karina, who is the supervisor.
Community employment
Scheme, right?
It's a hub of community life in here. There is a tourist information point, community office, space to meet and socialise, and opportunities to gain training and skills, especially under SciCap for those who may have disengaged from the labour market. And all this while also supporting a local business.
And down here you can hear the noise here. This is the restaurant here. So this is Joanne, and she's the proprietor here, and she's the chef.
Yes, chef, owner, bottle washer, everything.
From a business point of view, Joanne, this is working quite well, isn't it?
It's working very well. I said I'm here, I'll be 10 years next summer. Look, I wouldn't be here only for the community development, but profit is a dirty word, but if I wasn't making money, I wouldn't be here. That's an important part for me as well.
It creates employment opportunities.
We've 9 staff. Nearly all locals between part-time and full-time, which is hugely important. We do a lot of kind of group functions, mothers and others, ladies football, things like that. It's all part of a circle, how the whole community works.
The rent generated from the restaurant is invested right back to support other activities within the social enterprise. So Kildorrery is a thriving village with a vibrant community life and so many facilities. But it has achieved this through careful strategic planning. Ballyhoura Development have supported Kildorrery through 3 5-year socio-economic plans.
We would call a public meeting Everybody at that meeting would be able to put forward their wish, we'll call it, right, over a period of 3 or 4 meetings, and to be managed by the Ballyhoura group, that we would come up with our set of targets for the next 5 years.
A key catalyst came during the 2013 planning process. The need for the KCDA to become a social enterprise was identified. Already the community were addressing isolation by building, maintaining and managing sheltered housing.
We needed something here for senior citizens. People were living in very poor conditions, a lot of them.
And generating income from the Thatch and Time restaurant.
But that takes management from the point of view of repairs, ensuring the rent, ensuring that things are right down there.
With challenges like these, management, insurance, cash flow, the structure of a social enterprise would strengthen the governance and capability of the group, while allowing for more focused training supports through SICAP for individuals within the social enterprise. Community planning has also provoked the identification of gaps in services and facilities. There was a lack of activities for youth, so new clubs like Scouts were initiated to address this. More integration of migrants was needed, so an international food fair was established. And there was a need for better communication, especially so that local people could get more involved. Back in 2013, Noreen Magner and Marie Collins were not on the KCDA committee. In fact, they didn't know how to get involved in community life at all. They thought it was a closed shop.
Well, I suppose we were kind of saying, I wonder, is there anything happening around local or what's going on? I mean, at that stage, the Thatch and Time was up and running. The creamery yard had been bought. And we were kind of saying, I wonder how all these things work.
I was always talking about how would you get in there, like kind of, is there anything there I could do or anything? But then the plan came up, the 5-year plan. So I went along to that, and actually Noreen came along as there as well. And the 5-year plan really got me really involved.
Communication was improved in a variety of ways, through setting up a local radio station, starting a community newsletter and a community text.
It's become a part of people's way of communicating with each other. When there's meetings on, or it could be something to do with the drama club, and next thing it comes up on the text letting them know.
And it's also about reaching out to people in the community that don't attend meetings or events.
We were advised at that time by Ballyhoura was that we would send out flyers, and there was flyers put in every single post box in the parish, right? What would you like to see happen with the creamery? What would you like to see happen with the field, you know? So it was another layer in the structure of ensuring that the community were buying in to the thing, and that the community felt that this part of their community. The overwhelming wish at that time was the development of the field. We didn't know it at the time because we were paying more attention to the community hall. But we actually had to prioritise the park at that time and put in the walkway and put in the lighting. It was only finished within a couple of months when that was proven to us 100 times over, because every night there was people walking that park.
So it's about connecting with and truly listening to community voices. SICAP supports the community to be inclusive in this way, as well as highlighting ways in which the community can build critical partnerships, making effective use of scarce community resources.
In a community like Kildorrery, you have a lot of different clubs. We identified something in the region of 37 different organisations. So it came up on the 5-year plan again that we should try and coordinate so that we don't have an overlapping of responsibilities. And one of the things that came out of that was the GA used to have their festival every year, but the GA then started running into problems with space because they put in a second pitch down here and all the rest. So the two groups started to talk to each other as part of the 5-year plan.
You know, for one group to run something on their own, we would be short of manpower in the community development, really. And the GA would have the manpower, you know. So we had the facility, they had the manpower. So we combined the two together and formed the festival group. And since then, we've run a very, very successful festival every year.
And that was a huge leap forward.
There's great satisfaction in bringing about community change, integration and improvement. But it can also be really draining, as committee member Catherine O'Regan explains.
You know, we get tired as a committee, we get very tired sometimes, and sometimes you just need that push through.
Supports from the SICAP programme can provide that very push by putting the committee members in contact with other communities around the Ballyhoura area, at district forums and networking forums.
It's like a one-stop shop for all the information.
It's a place to recharge and re-energise and share ideas.
You get a full itinerary of everything that's available to a community, and you can also network, which is really good because we might be doing something in our community and another community might have an issue with, and vice versa.
That's the type of thing. It's very important to get around and talk to groups who have already done it and learn from their mistakes. Without that sort of support, you could find yourself very alienated.
Despite the energy and enthusiasm of the KCDA, there is no community in Ireland that has not felt the impact of COVID-19 lockdowns, isolation and lack of community activity.
Without a shadow of a doubt, COVID has been the worst thing that has happened to any rural community. A lot of our volunteerism has dropped. People have got quite selective with their time, so they're not as inclined to give the time back.
We find even that people that were coming are not coming.
And I mean, people do see that, oh God, I couldn't be going to meetings every fortnight or every 3 weeks, or I haven't got that time. And people don't have that time, and we understand that. But neither do we, and we still do it, you know.
And it is a worry. It is a worry. It's a worry for us.
Challenges of succession in community groups has been exacerbated by COVID, but it is often a continual challenge with ebbs and flows. Through the SICAP programme, the Kildorrery Community Development Association have been supported around board rotation. Board rotation can be really challenging for committees, especially if the same people have held the same roles for many years. But in Kildorrery, this board rotation is happening, with confidence being built in a new team. After 30 years in the role, former chairperson David Myers has handed over the role to Noreen Magner. Noreen has come relatively recently to community development. Having played a small role in the last 5-year plan, she is now stepping up to this leadership role.
I didn't realise that he was eyeing me up for chairperson at the time. It was a bit of a shock to me when he said it to me. I didn't sleep much that night after I saying yes to it. But now that I said yes, I'm delighted really, you know. There's a lot of work involved in it, and definitely an awful lot of work that nobody actually sees, you know. I curse it some days, but, you know, more often than that, I really enjoy it.
The committee's relationship with Ballyhoura Development has grown in trust to the point where it is a true partnership. The committee members are empowered to speak up for themselves, articulating their needs going forward.
There's an awful lot of demands on people, and a lot of them from here are working in the city. They have the ideas and they're prepared to put in the work. But the thing is, when it comes to following up on help by way of grants or information or whatever the case may be, they just haven't got the time for it. And when you don't have the time, you lose the will. So if we had a project manager here, I think it would be a huge leap forward. And that person would come along to our meetings. They'd know our way of thinking in following up on the phone calls the following morning, in following up on the progress reports, in following up on grants. We need that help.
Although COVID has decimated community life in Kildorrery, as in so many places, the first signs of a return to community activity are to be seen, especially with the newly renovated Creamery store building. Having been supported through Leader for a feasibility study and technical assistance for plans and designs, the building was renovated to a high spec and is now available to the community to use. It's a much needed space for a whole host of new community activities as identified in the SICAP supported planning process, with SICAP workers assisting individuals from target groups to avail of these new opportunities for integration and inclusion.
Have you anything on the stalls?
Well, actually, Janice? I actually put some feelers out during the week. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that have shown an interest, right? Plus another 5. So
that's 10
in
already.
In a sense, I have 10.
Okay.
Remember, we have a mix because some are Saturday and some are Sunday.
Yes.
Through SICAP, workers and staff support the group, signposting to other supports, as well as engaging and supporting them with their plans in accessing finance or accessing the right grant support at the right time based on their own plans.
My experience with Ballyhoura was mainly, I suppose, with the securing the grants for the store building. I have to say, because we were dealing with David White, he made it so easy for me. I wouldn't have had a huge knowledge of grants.
important capital funding support was given through Leader for the development and fit-out of this building. Through the SICAP programme, there is the space and time to assist the committee members with seeking and attaining access to finance, breaking down the process into manageable steps, as appreciated by committee member Catherine O'Regan.
The most daunting thing is the terms and conditions. You can read 300 terms and conditions and they wouldn't stick. You go to a meeting, people say apply for the grant, but just when you read the terms and conditions, you realise we're not eligible for it. But sometimes we may be eligible, but you wouldn't have the experience to see it. We wouldn't be working with this day in, day out, so they can shortcut a lot of that for us.
Chairperson Noreen Magner was supported through the grant process for the new store building on a one-to-one basis. Building the capacity of a new generation of officers like Noreen becomes vital.
I mean, I came from cutting hair every day to suddenly being in the centre of a building kind of that was being renovated, and I suppose with the responsibility of having huge money to deal with. You know, when you're drawing down the grant, you need all your receipts and your invoices. Dates have to be correct. You know, bank statements have to be shown. Detailed descriptions of the work that has been carried out and what you're drawing down for. David White was able to put it into context exactly what I needed. So, like, if we didn't have that support, then this is what you'd be left with, kind of, I suppose, up at night worrying, oh my God, do I have everything in place? What do I need now? How will I word this? What do I need to explain to the builder that he needs to put in writing? You know, so it would be very daunting to take on that task without the support.
All we need is a table like this for the bingo person above there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there'll be room.
You're not
And we
encroaching
can have
on
that
this,
stall above at the top anyway, like we had last year.
Yeah.
I just feel very proud to be from Kildorrery. My own 3 children are grown up now, but hopefully they'll maybe stay in the area and have their children, you know. And I think it would be even nice for my children to say, do you know something? My mum was part of all that group and she was part of, you know, putting that store building back up and running again. So it's creating memories for myself, memories for my children and for the future generations to come. You know, I won't always be chairperson, but it will be nice to walk around and say, well, you know something, when I was involved, this is what we did. And look at all the lovely young people now that are using it, and it's a great facility for them. And I'm sure in turn they'll come and they'll redevelop it again and change it. And that's what life is all about, really, is to keep developing and keep changing and moving on.